My parents, even though it's freshman year of high school, were like, well, what's your plan for college? Like, what are you gonna do? And at that point, I had already had this deep love for film music as well, and I already had a feeling that I wanted to find a way to get to that in my career, but try to find a way to that through jazz, since that's like what I was doing on a daily basis. And so I told them when I was like 12, I want to go to school for jazz and like tour as a jazz artist and then transition into film scoring. And that was always like very clearly, like I never had a moment where I thought, oh, maybe I'll do something else. It was always like, oh, that's the path. And like, yeah, I try to figure out how to make it happen. Yeah, a lot of it's just them believing in me. I think that's what's so wild about my career. Like I think about how hard it is to get into this industry in the first place, and then on top of that, as like um, a black composer, I feel like before those people gave me opportunities, I always had these roadblocks of like typecasting. Like even before I did something that like if I wanted to do a certain kind of film, it was hard to get considered for it, but I'd be considered easily for like, something that needed like a hip hop score, even though I didn't really write that much hip hop music. So I feel like it's interesting that it was easy for me to maybe get into the industry if I like bought into that type of role, or filled that spot for certain people. And I feel like having people like Justin, who is in a lot of ways one of the first, but Justin and Ava, or Blitz, or my friend Ray, like these filmmakers that are giving me different projects. A lot of that's just their trust and belief in me, and feeling good about our collaboration and continuing to work with me. And I literally was saying the other day that Ava has hired me now for like four different projects, and each of those projects is vastly different in terms of what it needs musically. And there was never a question as she called me for each of those projects of like, oh, can you do this kind of thing though? Because I know it's different than our last. It was just like, Kris, like we have this next project. Can you do it? And I feel like that type of trust and belief is really what has helped me kind of build my career. So yeah, I definitely feel like I've been intentional with who I choose to work with. But that being said, a lot of that wasn't up to me, and so I feel really thankful for all of the artists that have chosen to come to me. Yeah. One moment that definitely stands out. It's actually pretty early in my career, like even before a lot of film stuff. But I played at the White House, like when Obama was president, and um, I got to bring my dad, and I feel like that moment of like being a part of this big show there with all these other like legends. It was like Aretha Franklin and Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and Sting, like all these people, and being on that bill of musicians. And to be able to invite my dad to that space to like see me be a part of a show like that, I think was one moment that definitely um, stands out for me as like feeling like a little bit more confident or comfortable in this feeling of like having a secure position in an industry, I guess. Before, my achievement or ambition was based on like these this type of recognition or that kind of stuff, and I feel like now it's so much more driven by like wanting to make my daughter proud, like in the future, when she looks back at my career, to have some sort of sense of pride in who her dad is, or like how her dad decided to work, or same with my wife. And like, and also just making sure that they feel taken care of, but also the fact that I identified so much of my self with my career, my craft, and now being a husband and a father, I feel like so much of my identity is much more about that as well. And so that's definitely just kind of helped me put into perspective, like when a piece of music's not working, that it's not like, me failing at my like calling in life. It's just like, oh, the music's not working, let me like go on a walk essentially. So yeah, it's helpful in that way. Being a musician primarily from this place of story or emotion or narrative, I feel like I always wanted to express things in terms of like a story. And so it kind of started with that interest. And then I met my co-director on Repair Shop, Ben Proudfoot, when I wrote a short film that I wanted to get made, and he helped produce it and like lent me some equipment, and I went and directed it, and it just is like a self-funded student film that I don't think will ever see the light of day, but but that process really bonded us. And so us making these films together, Concerto and now The Last Repair Shop, has really been also like a way for me to continue to grow in that and like watch him. And he's made so many short documentaries that it's also been a process for me to like kind of have a way to like practice and learn, and definitely want to continue to do that. My work on Kobe's documentary, and like that documentary in particular, I feel like we're in this season right now of a lot of athletes making documentaries about themselves, and The Last Dance, or like the David Beckham thing that just came out. And I feel like the Kobe one, when we were making that, was like before a lot of those things had happened, and I think in a lot of ways like set the bar for what a sports documentary could be and feel like. And so much of my mentality, I mean, I spent a lot of time with him after that film, but I feel like a lot of my mentality is inspired by him, and also like my mentality when it comes to composing was directly inspired by him and that project. So I feel like that one maybe comes to mind.